3, 2, 1.
Kathy,
Hi,
thank you so much for joining us today.
it's my honor.
I was introduced to you by my lovely girlfriend,
Yes.
who speaks very highly of you, and I think you guys have known each other for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I know you're a very successful and busy person, and I really appreciate you carving out time in your day, especially after everything that's been going on in Kansas City, and joining us. So for those who don't know, you are the president of the Kansas City Sports Commission.
Correct.
What the heck is the Kansas City Sports Commission?
So we are a nonprofit. We are the oldest sports commission in the country. There are hundreds of them around the country. And the Sports Commission means different things in different cities, but the Sports Commission in Kansas City really focuses on attracting and bringing events to Kansas City and then owning events. So we always tell our staff we're focused on three things. We're focused on people participating in sports and having that opportunity to participate. Spectating sports, we want you to go out and buy a ticket. Chiefs, Sporting KC, Royals, T-Bones, we want you to be there and supporting them in a collegiate level as well. And then advocating for the right for women and girls to play sports, for youth to play sports. So we focus on participation, spectating, and celebrating.
How has what you guys do now? How has that evolved from when it was initially started?
Well, when it was started, the Sports Commission actually was a group of volunteers that was focused on selling season tickets to the Chiefs and then focused on keeping the Royals in Kansas City. So we've changed a lot since then. We're much more of now an event-focused company. We host our own camps and clinics. This is how I met Sophia. And my daughters have grown up through our camps for girls. And then also then attracting and really making Kansas City a spotlight, a name for us on the national and international stage.
Wow. Then talking a little bit about your background, how did you get to become the president?
So I was a chemistry major in college.
Okay.
I went
Chemistry
to,
and sports?
Yes.
Yeah.
I attended Truman State up in Kirksville, Missouri, and changed my major towards the end of my college career and switched to television and radio. I actually worked overnight at a radio station as Chatty Cathy. And somebody said, you ought to think about this. So, and that professor, I was really impressed by that. He took time to say, your chemistry teachers don't know what to do with you, especially as a female in my upper level chem classes. So I took his advice and I did an internship for Channel 4 here in Kansas City. Got out of school and ran into the person I had been working with as an intern, and she said there's an opening in the newsroom, and I started 48 hours later.
Wow.
So I spent 12 years at Fox 4 TV.
Okay.
Actually, when I started there, it was NBC.
Yeah.
Fox didn't exist. So the day that Channel 4 changed from NBC to Fox 4 was the day I got married. So that became a little complicated, but I spent almost 12 full years there at Fox 4 and left in creative services. Had spent time a little bit as a producer, a reporter, background. I was known as Kathy Chiron at the TV station, doing all the graphics and the oversight for the station, and actually helped hiring a lot of the talent too that you still see on air today. And then I left there and helped start a TV station called Metro Sports, which is the local sports station in our community. So myself and a few other guys just kind of talked about how do we get high school sports on TV, and wouldn't this be cool? So they had started it. I left Channel 4 to go help them launch to a 24-hour channel. Hired great talent like Lee Fleisig and Dave Stewart, and Brad Porter was already there. And then really grew that. I think there were half a dozen of us at the time, and when I left there after 11 years, there were 60 plus employees. So it was fun to see that grow into what it is today. And then had been a volunteer, a board member, a donor, a participant for the Kansas City Sports Commission and Win for KC, which is all the same company. And at that time, in 2010 then, the president of the Sports Commission said, you should come work for me. You tend to like events. You tend to like being the director of an orchestra and all the moving pieces. So I left my television career and went to work at the Sports Commission as the Win for KC director. And Kevin Gray was his name. And 6 months after I started, he passed away. At the age of 51. He died of cancer, and very suddenly. And so it was a shock to our city. And anyhow, they said, have you ever thought about running a company like this?
Wow.
Like, no, I have no background in running a nonprofit, but a lot of great people around me, a lot of good board members said, we'll mentor you, we'll help you through this. And here I am.
And what year was that?
Kevin passed in June of 2011. They did a national search, and the board came to me in September of 2011 I interviewed for the role and accepted in November of 2011 as president. So I'd been with the company, the organization, since August of 2010, and then took on this new title in November of 11.
And this is your full-time position.
Yeah.
What do you think you like about, when I look at the Royals Parade or look at the Chiefs Parade, I think of chaos. There's so many people, and you obviously,
Yes.
there's a piece of you that
Thrive.
likes that.
Thrive
So
on chaos.
what
Yeah.
do you just like being able to organize a giant event like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think that growing up for 20 plus years in the newsroom environment, there's definitely something to orchestrating that chaos and being the band leader, if you will, of making sure that all the pieces come together at the right time and with the right harmony. And I think that having that calmness, I don't get very excited. I don't get upset easily. I don't celebrate a lot. It's just like I'm that calm. Let's get it done and move on.
Yeah.
I think that helps too. But I do enjoy that pressure of hurry up. We have 20 minutes to get the 10 o'clock news on the air. And
Yeah.
it feels that same way in this role.
Interesting. So with the recent Super Bowl parade,
Yes.
so are you guys, your organization in charge of orchestrating and running that whole thing?
Yes, we work with, we brought on O'Neill Events. They're a staff of 4. They do things like Boulevardia and Irish Fest. They run those types of big festivals. So they have intel and expertise in areas that we necessarily, or we might not have when it comes to running a big sporting event. So we bring their team of 4 with our team of 15, and then 19 of us sit around the table in newsroom style, and for weeks or months we'll put that parade plan together.
What are some of the most difficult parts of putting that parade together last
Making
Wednesday?
sure that everyone is on the same page, and even if there are still some things that people aren't fully aware of or feel like they know all the details, at least they know who to go to ask. So multiple meetings and hundreds of meetings leading up to that. A lot of people go, oh my gosh, like in the Royals in 2015, the Royals won the World Series. You plan that in 2 days. No, we planned that in a year and a half. We started planning in 2014. We were called on by the Royals. Hey, we don't know who else would do this. I'm assuming the Sports Commission would plan a parade. And I remember telling the Royals organization, we know how to plan basketball. We know how to plan volleyball. We know how to plan a marathon. I don't know that I could plan a parade. And he says, well, what's the difference?
Yeah.
And I didn't have a good answer. So we ended up planning the parade in 2014. The Royals lost, and then we kind of took a breath and went, do we really know what we're doing? So we interviewed other cities and found out a lot of intricacies that really made a big difference in our 2015 planning. So by February of 2015, we were already underway in planning the World Series parade.
Wow.
So we took a lot of those lessons learned last year to plan a Super Bowl parade had it happened. And then this year, of course, we really felt like, I think I emailed you, I'm pretty confident that this parade is going to happen, so I really need to change my time.
No, yeah. I'm sure. What is that like the day of?
Well, there's no day of. It's a 48-hour process.
Right.
We arrive on site Tuesday morning for a Wednesday parade. You don't go home.
You stay up the whole night?
Pretty much. Yeah, you get a couple hours maybe if we're lucky. But we're used to that on a big event day, that the day before things could go wrong. So our goal was that everyone would be released from the roles they were playing. We had people scattered at Berkeley Riverfront area where all of the parade vehicles were being staged the day before. The hay bales were arriving, the blankets were arriving, beer was arriving, all that. So they were working on that. We had people setting a bike rack along the route, and then people at Union Station. So the goal was get everyone going and get done so that everyone could take a break and get a couple hours. It didn't necessarily happen. There are a lot of things that last minute didn't work out. So I think almost everyone on staff ended up with maybe 2 hours off.
How many people are on staff?
We have 15 full-time employees.
Okay. And so all of those were all hands on deck for the
Oh,
parade?
yes.
And then, so are they like all individual project managers that are overseeing little aspects of the parade?
Yes. So we know strengths and weaknesses, even myself, and we know that, okay, you're going to be really good working with volunteers. We're going to let you handle elected officials. We need you to handle media. You're going to handle sponsors. Everyone has some area of expertise, and then coming together so everyone knows all the plans and the details, and then they go out and do their thing and not micromanaged. We don't have time for that, but take care of your area and you let us know. So our staff, we made sure that twice on Tuesday we were eyeballing each other. We sat around a big conference room table, said, how's everyone? What do we need to get done? Where are the fires?
Yeah.
And then from there, divided and conquered. And then 12 hours later, we regrouped one more time to eyeball each other, check in on everyone, because then we knew what was about to happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was one of the biggest obstacles you can think of during the parade? Or up to the parade?
Well, weather.
Yeah.
You know, that became a major concern. We were working with Gary Lezak at Channel 41 and who I'd hired at Channel 4. So, you know, it kind of works out, right, when you have a background in that to know different people and have that trust. But really understanding the weather pattern got to be risky, working with the police and public works because we needed them all full on with us at parade. So if there's weather, all of a sudden public work has to clear streets. Well, what impact does that have? So that was a lot of moving pieces and, you know, just not knowing. You know, it had been leaked that the parade was planned for Wednesday. That's not actually true. We were looking at Wednesday or Thursday. We knew we weren't going to host on Friday because that's when our Win for KC luncheon was, and that's a fundraiser for us. So we knew our staff couldn't do a parade on that day. So we targeted Wednesday or Thursday and then worked it out from there.
What's going through your mind when you're seeing that rogue driver at the beginning of the morning?
Luckily, I didn't see the car. However, Kelly O'Neill, we were inside of Union Station, and a police officer came up to me and grabbed my arm. He said, you need to look me in the eye, and I'm going to tell you right now it's going to be okay, but I need you to know what's happening. And it's actually a guy I went to high school with. So knowing him for that many years, trusting him, and he said, this is under control, but it's not finished. And he said, so I'm going to stand here with you until this all plays out. And he was continually updating me as the whole process, because I was inside of Union Station. As the car came to Pershing and it, you know, ended up there, then we walked outside, and that's Chief Rick Smith was over there, and so we went over and talked to him and saw that it was under control. And we had people up top of the Westin in the restaurant that used to be up there, and that's where our command emergency crisis management center was located, where police, fire, and all that. And then we had one of our staff in there too, so they constantly could see the entire thing unfold.
What was your favorite thing about the parade?
Seeing our staff work so hard, and them as tired as they were, everyone smiling. Because just like all of you, we're huge sports fans, right? We work in sports because we love sports. And to know that we played this role of getting everyone where they wanted to be, to see whether it was a fan or a coach or a player, to have them all come together and celebrate that day, and then to see our staff go, hey, I did this.
That's special.
Jacob on our staff oversaw transportation for us, our buses. And to know that he owns season tickets to the Chiefs. And this was such a special day for him. I wanted him to enjoy that moment too. So to see people smile on our staff was probably the biggest payout.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Last question about the parade. Hopefully we get another Super Bowl parade.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would add or tweak or take out?
You know, we are just starting all those meetings this week. We'll meet with the police and the fire department. We'll meet with the chiefs. And we'll go through and do some positives and what could we tweak a little bit. Compared to 2015 to 2020, things like more porta-johns, a straight route, understanding traffic patterns, and then working with Ride KC to get people on public transportation, knowing that it worked this time, that makes me sleep better at night. It's those things that I don't know yet that didn't work that we'll continue to learn in these next few weeks, then that we'll fix for next year.
Nice. Moving on to the Big 12 tournament, which is one of the best things Kansas City has to offer, in my opinion, especially because I love college basketball so much, and it's spring, and it's just a great time of the year. What does that bid process look like? I'm sure there's 10 or 12 cities that are all trying to maybe put in a bid, or what does that whole bid process look like?
not every city can host. It comes down to your venue and your hotels and capacity. So we typically are bidding against Oklahoma City, a little bit of Tulsa, Dallas, of course. We've even heard Houston is interested to keep some teams in Texas to keep the championship or bring the championship there. But with Sprint Center, Power and Light District, the police department working Grand Boulevard, it doesn't get much better than Kansas City. So the bid comes up about every 3 or 4 years, and they're locked into Kansas City now through 2024. And this year the women are coming back. So the women's championship hasn't been here since 2012.
Okay.
So the same week, you can see great basketball. Women are playing at Municipal the same days that the men are playing. Actually, the men tip on Wednesday, the women tip on Thursday. Men's championship Saturday, and women's is on Sunday. So if you're an Iowa State fan, or you're a Baylor fan, or you're a KU fan, you can see both of your teams play, which is pretty exciting for us to be able to pull that off.
Is there anything new this year?
Women coming back is new. We'll continue the Fan Fest to that area. On top of Barney Alice Plaza, we'll have a family-friendly fan festival there during those women's games. We have a reading and fitness challenge. We have a women's breakfast and brunch on Saturday. Not new, but coming back is our Big 12 run. We do a 5K and 12K run to celebrate championship weekend. We have a barbecue competition throughout that week.
Wow.
So pretty much what you're used to seeing,
Yeah.
and then just more.
That's great. Lastly, what upcoming events or bids are you particularly excited about?
So of all crazy weeks for us, February 3rd, this happens every 4 years. February 3rd this year, NCAA had all their championships up for bid, and their deadline was Monday morning following the Super Bowl. So our staff worked on that and actually ended up submitting those the Saturday before the Super Bowl. So we've been working 7 days a week, so it wasn't anything to be in the office on that Saturday. Some of us were working on parade logistics, party logistics tied to the parade, and then others were working on the bids. So we've submitted bids for NCAA men's basketball, volleyball, wrestling, bowling. I'm dropping some right now. Anyhow, 28 different bids were submitted. So we're very excited about the opportunity to host those championships.
Just bringing more.
Yes,
to
more
Kansas
and
City.
more. Yes. So those championships are up for bid. We're working on kind of a fun X Games opportunity
Oh,
right
wow.
now.
Yeah.
And hopefully, along with ESPN, I know we're a finalist, and now we're working on that next step to get Summer X Games to Kansas City, which should be pretty unique and special. We have something up our sleeve maybe with Major League Baseball in the future. And we always are working with the NFL, of course, on the NFL draft coming to Kansas City in 2023. But most pressing is World Cup. And I would tell you about 25% of our time right now is focused on bringing the World Cup to Kansas City in 2026.
What do you think the chances are of Kansas City getting a World Cup game?
I feel very confident, and I think hosting a Super Bowl parade couldn't have come at a better time to showcase.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. When people from around the country and around the world look at us and can see how we activate and see how safe it is, all of a sudden we probably rise to the top a little bit more. We have some things we have to overcome. Transportation. Everything else is pretty good for us on our bid. All the venues have to be retrofitted to make sure that the pitch works inside, because believe it or not, a football field is smaller than a soccer pitch.
Yep.
So all these stadiums, the 17 of us bidding, have to do some type of construction on our stadiums. So all that's in the works of what that proposal looks like.
So it would be at Arrowhead and not
yes,
Sporting?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they'll sell out at 80,000.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
And we could host up to 6 matches.
Wow.
Yes.
That
Like-
would be wild.
That'd be great.
I know. We hear all the time it's like hosting 6 Super Bowls in 1 month.
Yeah.
Like, oh
We
my
have a
gosh.
good soccer following in Kansas City
Yes.
too.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
we were on the national news, international news, and
Oh.
P&L
Yes.
during
Oh,
the USA games all the time, like almost every game. That's
And
where
the
we get
women's-
visibility.
Yes, and when people buy a ticket to those international soccer matches, again, that shares our story as well. And showing up for the Women's World Cup, all of that video and those visuals will go into our pitch too.
Smart.
Yeah.
When do you find out if we get that or not?
So we are a World Cup city no matter what. It's a matter of if we receive and are awarded games at Arrowhead. And what that means is it could be that we're hosting games at Arrowhead, and if we don't get that, we could still be a host city for a country. So those countries will come in and train here.
Oh, wow.
We could be a base camp is what they call it for those countries. So their fans would come and live here for 6 weeks. They'd fly to wherever their games are and then come back. They'd train in Kansas City. So we hope that we're at least one or two, if not more, base camps. We could be Fan Fest. You know, when you think about the parade and even over at the plaza, the areas that people could go and congregate to watch these big screens and TVs, our city does that well. So we have lots of opportunities with World Cup. The goal is, of course, to get the games, but beyond that, we'll be involved at some level.
Very exciting for
Yes,
Kansas City.
yes.
What a time to be in this city. Thank you so much for coming
Sure,
on and
thank
sharing
you.
all these exciting things. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thanks. Cool. Easy enough, right?
Yeah, that was
That was
great.
excellent.